you are an amateur photographer and looking for an excellent camera, and you are totally lost because there's so much diversity. There's like a dozen brands, and each has like a dozen different cameras and with crazy specs, and you can't decide which one to buy. And now just get ready to have your mind blown. I'm going to share a YouTube clip with you. This will be, I think, an eye-opener, and we'll watch just a few seconds, and afterwards I will show the hard science, what makes him say what he is saying and experience what he has been experiencing.
I even have an A9 Mark II. I have an A7R4. I have Sony's, and I have a 5D Mark II back there, and I'm still using this camera today. And I know you're thinking, why would he use this old Canon when he has the newer Sonys? And it's pretty easy for me.
So why is he using his Canon 5D Mark I, which is perhaps the first full-frame DSLR. It was released quite a long time ago. If you look at it, August 2005. It's almost 20 years old DSLR, and he is, what he was saying in his video, he's favoring it compared to the present day best Sonys, including the A9 and the A7Rs, and then those are really expensive, like many thousands of dollars cameras with ridiculously high pixel counts, amazing dynamic range. So they have all of those data behind them, all of those specifications, which you would say that when you are a cameraman and you love taking photos, you want that. And maybe yes, in certain situations you don't, but there are some things that those numbers don't say. And if you watch his video in full, then he will tell you why is he doing that, and he has lots of photos to share that show that he is not just imagining things. And however, right now, let's look into what I have promised to show you why, what's the science, what's the data behind his observations, and let's explore DxOMark's measurements that they took on the EOS 5D Classic Mark I sensor. What was the color science of the sensor? Because he was saying that he loves the filmic look that that camera gives, and that really boils down to how the camera sees the colors and puts together the images. And I'm going to show these color measurements, the color response measurements, and compare it to something, the Leica M11. And for those of you who know about Leica, this is the basically, I believe, the top of the line series currently in 2023, early 2023, of Leica, and there's like a $10,000 difference and almost 20 years difference between those two cameras. And you would say, oh, maybe it costs like 8,000 whatever dollars, I don't know, depending where you live, but drop a lens on it, just a single lens, and probably you will have a collection of lenses to go with it. But even if you add the lens, then the price difference between a 5D plus a lens and an M11 plus a lens will be quite beyond 10K. So I think that's not a euphemism to say that there's a $10,000 difference between those two cameras, and an almost 20 years, like a 17 years or years difference as well. Yet, when we look at the color science, let's go back to the Leica M11. At the DxOMark, when you look at the sensor, how the sensor sees the colors. So when you look at the red channel, when you shine light at it, so this is how it sees the colors. So there's always like bleeding into the other colors as well. So when the camera sees red colors, there's also signal coming through the green channel and the blue channel as well, and quite a bit through the green channel. And when the sensor sees the green color, then there's quite a bit also coming through the blue and a little bit from the red. And when there's blue light hitting the sensor, then there's a little bit activation for the green and a tiny bit activation for the red as well. And the last figure here, it shows us that the relative sensitivity, so equal energy transmitted per each light spectrum, how does the camera perceive it? So basically, if we give the green channel the value of 1, then the same strength blue light will give only a 0.59 reading for the camera. So basically the camera doesn't, the M11 doesn't see as well in the blue. So it sees only 59% as well as in the green channel. And for the red, it's even worse, it's just 30%. So basically it has a very good vision in green, it has a little bit compromised vision in blue, and very poor vision in red. And those of you who know, then Leica M11 is perhaps one, like the holy grail of cameras, and really all the photographers out there who have like the top Sonys, the top Canons, they are dreaming to upgrade to a Leica. So this is really the holy grail land, and this is what we see for color science. And now let's have a look at the 5D color science. You can pretty much stand amazed, because when you look at the primaries, how the camera, how the 5D sees the colors, it's almost exactly the carbon copy of what the M11 sees. There's a really minor difference per each channel. So basically the 5D classic sensor and the M11 sensor sees light almost the same way. And which is better? Let's look at the relative sensitivity data. And for the M11, you see 100% versus 5930. And when we look at the Canon, it's 177/42. So the venerable 5D is actually has quite a bit more balanced sensor than the coveted M11. I think probably you wouldn't have expected that, right? That even to this day, our most coveted sensor, the M11 sensor, is still not as balanced as the 5D sensor. So I think now you can see that why people are really high on the 5D Classic even today, why it is such a really a landmark camera, and why people tend to pick it up when they shoot, even professional photographers, as a fun camera. So when they don't just do it as a job to make money and just turn out one soulless shot after the other, but when they want to put their emotions in it, when they want to keep the photo for themselves and not for a paying client who just pays for superficialities, but they want the depth, want the soul, want a meaningful photograph, they pick the 5D. And I've been just running into more and more photographers and their testimonials that, yeah, I have a Hasselblad and an R5, but I noticed that 80% of the time I take out the 5D Classic when I'm shooting. I'm now quoting a photographer. That's not me. I don't have a Hasselblad. So So I really hope that you like this little bit of comparison, and it just gives us some pretty mind-blowing similarity between these two cameras. Now this is really awesome that DxOMark has these measurements, but their measurements, camera measurements, are really spotty, and you see they have a lot of categories for measurements, and what you can see is that they are not consistent. So let's look at the signal to noise ratio at 18% saturation. There's nothing there. So if you want to compare to the Sony A9 or the Sony A7R series or the Canon R series, they all have the measurements for the 18% gray, and it's not given for the 5D. And look at that full signal to noise ratio, and there it is. It is published for the 5D, but when you look at the EOS R series or the Sonys, it's not there. So you don't have a comparison between them, and sadly this discrepancy that you cannot really compare what happened during the last 20 years directly to each other. And then we have this amazing idea that technology advanced so much, but this is like the signal to noise ratio, which tells you black and white on paper that what is the signal that the camera can use, not the total bit depth. From the total bit depth, the noise has to be subtracted so you can see what is the signal that the camera can make sense of it. And eventually I did some calculations between them, and even with today's best cameras, even comparing to the Leica, the difference between the signal to noise ratio between the 5D Classic and these awesome coveted mega expensive cameras is only 1 bit. 1 bit. That is how much they have improved the signal to noise ratio over the 5D Classic. And that's not as much as you would think, and as other data, other figures suggest. And so I hope this little snippet was useful for all of you, and it's just to show that the numbers are there, to show that the 5D Classic is truly a classic, and it does not have a reputation based on just dreams, but it has a reputation based on real hard data. And yep, so thank you for watching. Please like the video if you have liked it, subscribe to this young channel if you haven't done yet, and you can also, if you want to, buy me some coffee. What is that? That's a link that's in the description, and you can go there and you can donate some money if you want, and that will be used to maintain this channel and get you more information. Maybe I can test more lenses, cameras. That will be quite meaningful for me. So thank you. Bye bye.